And why is Donald Trump so enamored of Putin? Well, part of it is he's a wannabe dictator. He has told us that repeatedly.
That is former US presidential nominee Hillary Clinton claiming that Donald Trump is a wannabe dictator who is, quote, enamoured with Russia's President Vladimir Putin. Ms. Clinton was speaking about the $95 billion foreign aid bill. The US Senate passed the bill with assistance for Ukraine and Israel last week, but it faces an uphill battle in the House of Representatives, with several Republicans arguing that funding should be spent on domestic issues, such as the crisis at the southern border. Hillary Clinton went on to say in that interview there are people in power that have turned on America to curry favour with Trump.
As there are Republicans who feel that they took an oath to Donald Trump, not to the United States of America. And I don't say that lightly, but I cannot understand it. There are people I served with in the Senate for 8 years who have turned on America in order to curry favor with Trump. I don't recognize these people. These are people who I worked with, that I traveled with. And to hear what's coming out of their mouths now is just shocking to me.
As you would expect, people in America and right around the world are reacting to those comments online. One user posted on X, "This is exactly what a bitter and desperate old woman looks like." And another wrote, "The dictator is clearly Biden." But others posted messages of support for Hillary Clinton. One person wrote, "I agree completely." And another posted, "History will judge the Republican Party very harshly, and rightly so." Meanwhile, eyes are on Donald Trump, who is yet to respond to the death of Russia's opposition leader, Alexi Nali. Joe Biden told reporters Putin is responsible.
Now let's take a look at the big international story of the day, which is the death of Alexi Navalny. Now, he was the Russian President Vladimir Putin's fiercest opponent. The Russians are bizarrely claiming that he died from quote-unquote sudden death syndrome, whatever the hell that is. Now, look, he never stood much of a chance once he returned to Russia after being poisoned in 2020. He'd just been recently transferred to the maximum security Polar Wolf penal colony in the Arctic Circle. I mean, Evelyn, what do they do? Sudden death syndrome?
Like, you missed out a phrase. Sudden political opponent.
Exactly. Do we believe that he just dropped dead, or is there something sinister going on?
Look, I don't know. There's a lot. I've read into it a little bit, and there's so much that we just don't know, because his closest relatives and friends are saying that it hasn't been confirmed that he's even dead. I don't know if you know any more information than that, if it's come out since this article that I read today.
I'm pretty sure he's been dead even before he was dead.
Well, because they won't give the body over to the family yet, right? They say we've got to do investigations, etc.
They're probably tidying him up, all of the
There's
others.
a lot of interesting things.
Sudden death. It sounds very violent.
But it's interesting because, like, you know, this stuff happens all the time, all across the world. Look what happened to Epstein. And it's like there's such a fixation at the moment on what's happening in Russia for obvious reasons. Tucker Carlson just did the interview with Putin, so a lot of people are...
Well, how silly does Tucker Carlson look now after that soft glad-handing of Vladimir Putin?
I don't know.
Now he has killed his most prominent oppositionist figure.
But
the reason people are focusing on this is because Vladimir Putin is a murderous dictatorial bastard who has systematically killed off political opponents and journalists who have dared to point this out.
Agree. And this is, you know, I think out of anyone kind of in modern history, Navalny is one of the bravest people that we have ever seen. And the courage that it takes to be poisoned, to almost die, recover in Germany, and then go back to the country where you know you will be killed. Putin killed him, one way or another. That's right. That is conclusive.
Well, I mean, it's, you know, sudden death syndrome, I assume, usually involves a revolver or something perhaps a little more violent.
Yeah, but it sort of doesn't. I mean, the bloke was persecuted to death anyway. So whether Putin had Novichok on him or whether he...
Yeah.
That's right. But so whether Putin had another go with the Novichok or whether the guy just died of, you know, maltreatment, of malnutrition, of weakness or whatever in the gulag, it hardly matters. But again, people die all the time. But you know, the opponents of one particular political leader don't die with clockwork regularity every single time they present a threat to him. all the time. That's what makes Putin different. That's why
like the Clinton touch.
And he's got, well, there's a bit of the Clinton touch, but again, Donald Trump is still alive. So,
on Donald Trump, I think it has been, you know, I'm not surprised, but I still think it's disgraceful. Donald Trump's commentary around Putin, and I saw Nikki Haley.
What did he say? I'm not.
Nothing in relation to this death, and I think that is disgraceful. That Nikki Haley came out, called it out straight away, said that this was Putin's at his hands, and I am intrigued to see what impact that has, if any, on the US.
But we don't know the deed. Like we can make assumptions and things, but sometimes it's smart to wait in your wisdom.
I think it's a pretty fair assumption.
Trump is criticised for absolutely everything, right? Absolutely everything. So I don't blame him if he's just waiting to see for more info before he just.
But even not just on this, how
America should invade any other countries that decide to oppose it by joining NATO is pretty.
That was just a stupid. That was just a stupid.
His
typical Trumpism, though. We all know what he meant.
While we're on,
I didn't realise, Charlotte, that he hadn't spoken on this. No. And it's not very often that Donald Trump is criticised for not speaking. So we'll wait and see. Of course, he needs to condemn this. We'll wait and see what happens in the next 24 hours.
Flowers laid to honour Alexi Navalny in Moscow have been removed by authorities following his death in a Russian prison.
The tributes keep coming. A steady stream of people mourning the loss of a man whose fight for their future had cost him his life.
He was a real character. This is a man who is not afraid. We have few brave people now. It is very sad.
The whole world should know that there are people who are sad, who are terrified and who are shocked, who think that all the political prisoners should be freed.
There have been hundreds of detentions, most released with a warning, some held overnight, and masked men bagging up the flowers from memorials too. The police presence in Moscow markedly higher than normal. Just like the people who've come to pay their respects, who are told to move on, the police have told us we only have 7 minutes to do our filming here. But I think the fact that you still have large numbers of people coming to lay flowers 2 days after Alexei Navalny's death shows you what kind of an impact, what kind of a mark he leaves, certainly within a certain section of Russian society. Because there is also another segment, the Z nationalists, let's call them, who'd celebrated at a concert in Moscow, cheering Russia's gains in Ukraine and chanting "the blood clot is broken," referencing one theory that a blood clot had killed Navalny. Russian TV has remained largely quiet. No photos of a man they call just a convict. This guest interrupted when he tried to express his condolences to Navalny's family live on air.
I think this is not a surprise to anyone who watches Russian television programs, but I managed to say what I wanted to say, and I think that those who heard it, the viewers who wanted to hear it, heard it.
What kind of a threat, then, do you think Navalny would have represented to Putin if he had been a free man and able to participate in politics properly?
It's hard to say, because if Russia had freedom of speech and free elections, there would be no Putin, there would be no Navalny.
Up in the north, the murky goings-on around where his body is continue. His poor mother Ludmila, who is up there now, with no answers yet. This photo posted by Navalny's wife Yulia on Sunday. "I love you," she says.